The Chinese Grand Prix gave way to some interesting developments, both in the championship and in our Teammate Wars series, where we rate the F1 teammates on 3 different performances, how they compare in qualifying, who sets the fastest lap in each race, and where they finish when the checkered flag waves. Remember, they'll be given 1 point for each battle won. So let's see how the teammates did after the Chinese Grand Prix. There are changes up and down the field, and the tightest contest on the grid is currently between the Renault drivers, with Daniel Ricciardo's first strong weekend for the team, pulling him level with Nico Hulkenberg. This was one of the partnerships that was hardest to call ahead of the season, and so far there is nothing to choose between the Australian and the German. Hulkenberg will be looking to find an answer to Ricciardo's narrow pace advantage he showed in China, and both drivers will be hoping Renault's reliability improves so they can start getting 2 cars to the finish line. But let's look through the rest of the field, starting at the back with Williams. Robert Kubica's struggles on his return to Formula One continued in China, and he says he has tried everything but can't get the car to work for him. Now, there appeared to be some hope for the 2008 Canadian Grand Prix winner in qualifying when he almost pipped George Russell in Q1, although the British driver apologized to his team after doing a, quote, rubbish lap, which might explain why the gap was so small. In race trim, Kubica said his car felt much worse, which he finds confusing as he came back to Formula One this year expecting single lap pace to be his main weakness. Kubica remains the only driver not to have scored a point under our system yet, so he trails Russell 9-0 after 3 races. The Toro Rosso drivers arrived in China tied 3-3 on our scoring system, but Daniel Kvyat moved ahead by a single point, despite Alexander Albon being one of the stars of the race to grab a top 10 finish from a pit lane start. Albon did not take part in qualifying, and normally we wouldn't offer his teammates a point in that situation, but as he missed out because of a crash that was his fault in practice, we felt it was fair to score in favor of Kvyat in this case. However, we've taken a different approach with the next team on our list. Antonio Giovinazzi was also consigned to the back of the grid on Saturday when he failed to set a time in Q1, but as this was a result of a technical failure, similar to the one that robbed Ferrari's Charles Leclerc of victory in Bahrain, we did not include qualifying in our scores for the Alfa Romeo drivers this weekend. However, Kimi Raikkonen continued to assert his dominance over Giovinazzi, earning a 2-0 victory for the weekend by finishing ahead of the Italian and setting a faster lap in the race as he finished in the points for a 3rd race in a row. At Racing Point, Sergio Perez is starting to show the dominance over Lance Stroll that most people expected ahead of the season, and he's pulling away from his new teammate after losing out 2-1 on the opening weekend in Australia. Perez moved ahead with a 3-0 victory over Stroll in Bahrain, and he extended his lead to 6-3 for the season by out-qualifying and finishing ahead of Stroll in China. Stroll did claim a point back with a faster lap in the race, taking advantage of a late pit stop to have fresh tires on a low fuel load, while Perez was running near the front of the Class B race to finish an impressive 8th with a one-stop strategy that was more about tire management than setting one quick lap. Carlos Sainz Jr. turned the tables on Lando Norris with a 3-0 victory over the China weekend, but it was a hollow victory on a weekend to forget for the team. Both cars were eliminated in Q2 on Saturday, and their races were ruined by an incident triggered by Daniel Kvyat. While Sainz showed good pace running at the back, Norris's race was compromised by floor damage, and he soldiered on until retiring a few laps from the finish. The Haas drivers didn't run in Q3 after both getting through to the final segment of qualifying, meaning Kevin Magnussen's faster lap in Q2 earned him his only point of the weekend against Romain Grosjean. Grosjean was 5-1 down before the China weekend, so he has recovered some ground on Magnussen, but the bigger concern at Haas will be the team's lack of race pace, as it again fell down the order after looking good in qualifying. Pierre Gasly's late pit stop to steal the fastest lap bonus point from Sebastian Vettel with fresher tires also earned him his only score against Max Verstappen in China, but he still sits a long way behind Red Bull's team leader after a rough start to the year. Gasly was 0.8 of a second slower than Verstappen in qualifying, and he was running more than 40 seconds behind in the race before making his extra pit stop near the end. Right now, it looks like he still has a lot of work to do to close the gap. Sebastian Vettel has retaken the lead in the battle at Ferrari, where he trailed Charles Leclerc 4-2 following the Bahrain Grand Prix. Vettel whitewashed Leclerc in China, perhaps with a little bit of help from the Ferrari pit wall, which ordered Leclerc to move aside after he got ahead of Vettel at the start. It would have been nice to see the team let their drivers race each other, but based on how he started life in his new team, we can expect to see Leclerc giving Vettel a hard time on a regular basis through the season. Valtteri Bottas outscored Lewis Hamilton on our point system over the Chinese Grand Prix weekend, but unfortunately for the Finn, it was Hamilton who took the most important prize by winning the race and moving into the lead of the World Championship. Bottas claimed pole position and set a faster lap during the race, but he couldn't quite get on terms with Hamilton over the course of 56 laps, having to settle for second as Mercedes maintained its 100% record of 1-2 finishes in 2019 so far. So, with the third round of the 2019 Formula One season behind us, here's how our teams stand after the Chinese Grand Prix. The Azerbaijan Grand Prix this weekend should provide some more exciting developments from the teams, so make sure you stay tuned to Motorsport.com and Autosport.com for all the latest, and we'll see you next week for another Teammate Wars. I'm Julia Piquet, and see you next time.